Season 6 started off breaking and changing the meta with the introduction of the Asvel and the SPR. Now there's a patch coming up that's supposedly going to nerf both of these guns, so I'm going to give you 5 loadouts that you can use before and after this patch to dominate and still get more wins in Warzone. If you like this type of content, you like tips and tricks, don't be afraid to hit the like and subscribe button so you can find more right here at Yoko Gaming. Also, we do some sweat clips and drop nukes quick scoping, so if that's your T2, hey, we got you covered. Okay, you're going to see that I build most of these guns with Overkill. That doesn't mean I recommend Overkill. I think EOD, Ghost, and Amped is the way to go. This is just a way to cut down time and show you both guns. I will try to balance them out in case you want to use Overkill, but, you know, disclaimer. Also, I don't like to use heartbeat sensor. I'm going to tell you right now, I think it's great if you're going for the first loadout and trying to pick off people if you get it super early, but if it takes you a couple minutes to really get your loadout and going, I don't think it's viable. I think by then most people have a Ghost. Some of them are running Overkill, so granted, you know, it's not the whole lobby, but you're talking 150 people. The majority, I would say 70%, are probably just going to go for Ghost and then hope to get that second loadout to get their second gun. So you're only going to be picking off people on Gulag. So what I tell people is if you are going to build Overkill and you are going to build your heartbeat sensor on your first loadout and you're hoping for a second, don't pick up the heartbeat sensor for the second one. I just don't think it's viable. It'd be easier to go for a flash or a stun. So what I like to build is the Molotov cocktail and the stun or the flash, even gas, but I haven't had a gas build yet. Never mind that though, let's get into the SPR. Now the SPR is a completely dominating gun, but it's really dominating right now because of the Lapua ammo and the glitch in it. Now unlike the Asvel, where the Asvel is a pretty good gun even without it, the SPR really loves to shine because it gives the gun the hit scan, which means you can pick people out of the sky by just putting it on their head. You don't even have to lead or anything, so that's definitely going to be patched, like I said earlier and even in some other videos, so it's going to be interesting to see if it's still better than the car. But for right now, people are using the small barrel because it doesn't matter what range it is. You just put it on their head. It's hit scan. The laser, the sniper scope, you're using stock to ADS faster, the Lapua ammo, like I said. So you're basically building a quick scoping class, right? And you're running around with it and shooting people 500 meters in the head. That's still a viable class right now, and that's the class I'm going to recommend to you guys, at least until the patch. After the patch, I will do an updated video, and we'll go over back and forth against the car and see if it's still the sniper it wants to be, or if it needs to go on the shelf with the rest of them. So me personally, I treat the Asvel like an SMG because it's extremely fast and it already has a suppressor built inside of the gun, so it's one less attachment you have to worry about. Now I do build the barrel long range though, and this is because you are going to get into medium range fights, and if I'm using the SPR, sometimes it's just within that range I'm uncomfortable taking a snipe shot with. So I use that. I'm also going to use the 5M watt laser. Now the reason I use that is not just because of the hip fire, but because of the sprint to fire. Now there's very seldom, and this may be different for you guys, but there's very seldom the case that I'm standing still and ADSing. So I like to sprint to fire. I'm usually running towards someone or running away someone to engage, and so that helps me gather them frames back instead of just the regular ADS. Now for the stock, I love using the scout stock because it does help the ADS speed. If you're finding the gun has too much recoil for you, you can definitely drop down to the lower one, and it's a crazy looking stop too. It helps us with the recoil control. Now the gun is extremely fast, like I said before, so you're gonna want a 30 mag on it. I mean, there's no other way around it. I wouldn't use the 10. I know it's bugged right now, but it's still only 10 shots, and I mean, at some point you'd rather just use the FAL. Now for the grip, I'm gonna use the sprint to fire grip. Again, the recoil control can be unmanageable for you, so do not be afraid to drop it out. With the open iron sights in this gun, it's kind of like the Growl. I don't feel like you need a reticle on it, so you can get away with dropping down the recoil control. Now, be in mind, you are going to lose a couple frames there, but it should be no problem. Okay, now that that's out of the way, it's time to get into the first real build for the Warzone. Now, I dropped 15 kills with this, and I was crazy surprised that we got a fat win with it. This is the PKM. Now, I know what you're saying. The Bruin, you know, killed the LMG classes, but that's not the case. The PKM still hits like a tank, and if you don't believe me, try it out in the pregame lobbies when you just spawn in with a random gun. It hits like a truck. So I run the 26.9 long barrel. This is going to help the range and the recoil control, which you definitely need. I use the 5 laser because, you know, I'm a sprint to fire guy. Just assume that. Now, for the optic, I love using the VOK. I think you can get away with it because it's open-sided and go for more recoil control and a grip, or even a larger ammo capacity, but I'm happy with 100, and I like seeing further off because I think the gun is highly accurate, so I use the VOK. I also use the close quarter stock to help make some of that up for the ADS, and the stipple grip tape. Like I said, you know I'm a sprint to fire guy. I use the Semtex and stun grenades on this build because it is kind of fat, so I want to stun people, get really close to them, and then mold them down, and I run an RPG as a secondary because, you know, why not? Next up on the list is the Kilo and the R9 class. Now this is one that I do run Overkill with. My friend Blue that I play duos with, he loves the Kilo, he swears by it. And I believe Exclusive Ace also did a video saying it is the most accurate gun in the game. And I can attest to that. So I run the 19.8 barrel on it, which helps damage range and recoil control, making it absolutely amazing. The 5M laser, you already know what the deal is. Close quarter stock, 50 round instead of a 60, and stippled grip tape. Now you could take the stippled off and go for recoil stabilization, which would straighten out the little bit of recoil that it has, but I don't feel like you need any kind of recoil control on this gun. It doesn't mean I would recommend using no stock and increasing the recoil. I think it has enough that's manageable. I wouldn't add any of it, and especially with the longer barrel, you could get away with it, but I think it is perfect how it is. Now, everybody complains about how dominating the Origin is, so they removed it from the ground loot, but no one's complaining about the R9, so here comes Birth 2, the Dragon's Breath. And if you haven't been hit by it yet, it sucks, especially if they have a loadout and you don't. So what I like to do is the 5M laser, the Gemini barrel, this is going to help the ADS speed, the Merc 4 grip, Dragon's Breath, and stippled. All I'm basically looking forward here is to ADS fast and run up and hip fire. It's going to be 2 pumps. If they have EOD, it could be 3, but the biggest thing about it, especially in the gas, if you're fighting, is it's going to do that tick damage. So if you can break the armor and hit them one time, it's absolutely dead because that fire is going to just work their health all the way down. Of course, I love using Semtex and Stun Grenade, but you can mix this up any way you want. Now, if you're talking about long-range sniping, nothing compares to the HDR. It outclasses every sniper in every way with the range that it has, and it's the gun that I used a long time before switching to anything else. That's because the range is basically unlimited for the HDR. 26.9 HDR barrel, tac laser, the only sniper I use variable zoom on, Stalker Scout to help the ADS speed like a frame or two, you know, you're picking up whatever you can, and sleight of hand. Now I don't use ammo on this. You could put a 9 mag on it and never have to reload, and I think that's a viable option, but it does cost that extra ADS speed. I like to use sleight of hand just in case. Now, I like to use the M13 with the HDR. You can definitely use this as overkill or a standalone on itself, and you're going to start to see a trend here, okay? I like using non-suppressors on guns that have a lot of recoil control. The M13 is a laser beam. You can build this gun just about any way you want. I use the Tempest Marksman barrel, 5M laser, VLK, 50 mag, and stippled grip. But I also sometimes, I have to admit, I take the 5M watt laser off of this gun because of the ADS speed and put on the mono suppressor. This will keep it off of radar. Now, it is a slower gun this way, and I don't know if you want 2 really slow ADS guns unless you're really being methodical about how you're taking gunfights or it's really out in the open. I wouldn't recommend this if it's going to be downtown, for example. You know, you need something a little bit snappier, but if you're going like towards Boneyard out in the fields, this is the class you definitely want to use because both of them are completely accurate and they take a little bit longer to ADS. M4 and MP5, we love you. The top guns in their classes, they're contenders after taking nerf after nerf. Be warned, I like to build my M4 really fat here, but this build even got featured on Call of Duty Stories with COD top clips, so it has some merit behind the build. So hear me out. This is the monolithic suppressor. I'm using the Grenader barrel, 5M watt laser, you know what it is. Now I use the Commando foregrip to help with recoil stabilization. I'm going for medium to long range kills using iron sights here, so I want the recoil to be straight. It's okay if it's a little climby, I know how to handle it, and I use the 50 mag instead of the 60. Now, because this gun does take a long time to ADS, I keep the MP5 in my pocket. Now for the MP5, I'm going to be up close and personal, so it doesn't matter to me if I'm using a suppressor, right? At least in duos, they're already going to know where I am. In quads and trios, this can definitely change, and I may use a integrated suppressor, but for me, in duos anyways, and solos, I use the 5M watt laser, the close quarter stock, I use a 45 mag, stippled grip, and sleight of hand. This is going to be really fast ADSing, making sure I can knock down both targets and remove the clips as fast as possible and keep on moving. Okay, last class. This is not for rushers. I'm telling you right now, straight up, this is a class that you're going to be really slow, take your time with, and hits like Superman. This is the Odin. The Odin has one of the highest damage outputs. It is crazy hard hitting. I build the Manzilla, which is the Odin Factory 8-10mm Colossus Suppressor, VLK, and Elite Combo. It's basically all the top row. You're not going to use extended ammo, at least in duos. 20 rounds is more than enough to down 2 people if you're highly accurate with your shots, or even if you're wayward and you miss about 5 or 6 shots, it's only going to take 3 or 4. And if you have stopping power, oh my goodness, this thing's a 3-shot. Now, for trios and quads, you're probably going to want to sacrifice something for the 30 round, right? That's totally understandable. Again, this is not a rushing class. This gun takes a while to ADS, but it hits like a tank. So definitely try it out. Of course, we're running, we're actually gonna run stim with this because we like to sit back. And we also run proximity mines. This is to help us as we're moving slowly through, throwing them out behind us, making sure no one's coming up behind us. Of course, EOD, Ghost, and Amped. That's it, guys. That's the top 5 classes I'm going to recommend you right now, and maybe even after the patch as well, assuming they don't mess with some of the other guns in the process. Leave me a like if you liked the video, you learned something. Leave me a comment. Tell me what your favorite build is or what gun you really have success with, and maybe I'll try it out in the next video. As always, guys, I'm Yoko from Yoko Gaming. Peace.